Welcome, wrestling fans, to WWE Show Review on Tim Reynolds Show, as we're reviewing Monday Night Raw this past week. And man, was it one hell of a show for you guys, as we got kicked off with none other than Rhea Ripley, who would come out into the center of the ring to tell us all about her feelings for everything that has transpired the last 2 weeks. And of course, she would be interrupted by none other than Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan, who would rub it all in her face, the fact that Liv has taken everything from her, including Dirty Dom and the Judgment Day and the Women's World Championship. But of course, Rhea would respond to Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan by saying, "You haven't took everything from me, because I still have breath in my body and I'm still willing to fight you until you kill me." And she also made sure to give a little insult to Dirty Dom, pretty much saying that, hey, you did stab me in the back, but you didn't really go deep enough, which I'm sure you're used to hearing. Oh! And then, of course, we would see Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom try to clap back, but before they knew it, you would see Rhea Ripley interrupt them and say, hey, you know, it's so nice that you guys love hearing yourselves talk so much, because it makes it easier for us to find you. And of course, Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan are like, find who? What do you mean? And if Damien Priest would show up right behind them and ambush Dirty Dom, beating the hell out of him right inside the WWE Universe in the crowd. Backstage, they would go ahead and keep going at it. Liv Morgan would jump on top of Damien Priest's back before Rhea Ripley would come right after Liv Morgan. And of course, we would see this sort of thing spill over into the ring as Dirty Dom and Damien Priest would be going at it before Damien Priest would be jumped by Judgment Day member Carlito, which would lead us into our first match of the night, as it would be Damien Priest taking on Carlito of the Judgment Day. And of course, this match wouldn't really be much of a competition, folks, as Damien Priest really takes care of business, beating the hell out of Carlito. But of course, he wasn't alone, because Carlito would get some help, as later we would see JD McDonough try to jump into the ring to take out Priest, but Priest would counter, and also with Finn Balor coming into the ring, Priest would still counter and be able to get the victory over Carlito in this one. But we would also see Judgment Day jump Damien Priest before Rhea Ripley would come back out to the ring to have Priest's back. But we would see at the end of this particular moment, Damien Priest and Rhea Ripley were the ones that stand on top, as they would send a message to this new Judgment Day with a big choke slam from the heaven, letting everybody know in the Judgment Day that they're coming for them. And we've also got breaking news, as we have found out that it will be a mixed tag team match at the Bash at Berlin, as it will be Damien Priest and Rhea Ripley teaming up to take on Dirty Dom and Liv Morgan of the Judgment Day, this new Judgment Day. Whew, this is gonna be one hell of a match, guys. And that's just the way we got kicked off with Monday Night Raw, man. And we would see up next a very scary but creepy video from the Wyatt Six. After making their in-ring debut the week before, we would see Bo Dallas, or Uncle Howdy if you will, tell us that he is really excited and he was definitely pumped up for that moment last week. It's going to change everything for them, as he would tell us that last week's match was a sign and that there are so much more things to come. What could this mean? Guys, I have no idea. All I know is that this Wyatt Six is not to be messed with, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with them going forward on Monday Night Raw. Whew, scary. Then we would see next up backstage, Kofi Kingston was meeting up with Odyssey Jones, who helped out the team last week, as New Day really needed the help dealing with the Final Testament over the last few months. We also see Xavier Woods would show up telling Kofi Kingston that he's been looking for him all night to try to get a game plan together. But then Kofi Kingston would let Xavier Woods know that we are going to have Jones's back, just like he had our back last week, as we would see Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods come out to the ring to be at ringside for Odyssey Jones's debut match on Monday Night Raw, which he would win. But after this particular match, we would see the Final Testament come out once again towards the New Day and try to attack them. And man, this is going to be one badass, one really good fight between these guys, as we would see the New Day challenge the Final Testament to a tag team match, or Xavier Woods would, before he was interrupted by Kofi Kingston, and Kofi was the one who made it a 6-man tag match, including Odyssey Jones. Guys, I hate to be the one to have to tell you guys this, but Xavier Woods does not look happy. And I'm really, really scared and afraid that this will be the last that we see of the Judgment Day, man. It's hard to see. Xavier Woods doesn't look interested. He doesn't look like he really likes what's going on with all the moves that Kofi Kingston is making, especially with Kofi just coming back from this injury and it looking like he's trying to replace Big E with Odyssey Jones in the New Day. And of course, Xavier Woods is not going to like that. And this is what the Final Testament is trying to do by driving a wedge between Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. And it might be working, guys. We would see next up on the show, backstage, Drew McIntyre having a little meeting with GM Adam Pearce. And we would see he just comes into his office and pretty much says, hey, why is Randy Orton getting the world title match after he's the one who beat CM Punk at SummerSlam and probably deserves a title shot himself? Well, GM Adam Pearce would tell Drew McIntyre, you already know why he's got a title shot. And Drew promises to be on his best behavior and be the veteran leadership that the locker room needs. So who knows what that means, but we would see next up on Monday Night Raw, we would have our next match of the night that would put the Alpha Academy, Otis and Tozawa, up against American Made, the Creed brothers. And we would see this in a tornado tag team match, which we don't get to see very often on Monday Night Raw, where both competitors on each team will be able to participate in the ring and compete at the same exact time, looking to take out the other. And we would also see Maxine Dupree ringside, which would actually come into play, as we would see the Pitbull, the other female member with the Creed brothers, one of their friends, come out and attack Maxine Dupree and distract Otis and Tozawa, which the Creed brothers, American Made, would take advantage of and get the victory against Otis and Tozawa. Man, this is just looking like Alpha Academy cannot get a win to save their life, but the Creed brothers and American Made look to step up their game now with this big victory. Then we would also see next up on Monday Night Raw, backstage, GM Adam Pearce talking to Bronson Reed, saying that he is lucky he's only gotten a fine from WWE for his actions last week by taking out Seth Rollins by delivering 6 different tsunamis, his finishing move, off of the top rope. Man, brutal. Seth Rollins was reportedly have internal bleeding and broken ribs and will miss a few weeks. So after this particular conversation, Bronson Reed says to JM Adam Pearce that you either find me a match tonight or I will go out there and find me my next victim. Big warning coming from Bronson Reed, who already made a huge statement last week. Then we would see next up 2 promo videos, one of Damage Control, promising to take out and teach Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, and Sonya Deville a lesson after they took out their friend Dakota Kai the week before. But we would also see a video promo from these 3 ladies responding to Damage Control, saying that they're the ones that are going to run this women's tag team division from now on, and we now know the name of this new faction, as it would be called none other than, give me a second, the Pure Fusion Collective is now the new faction name for Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark, which would lead us to our next match of the night, where we would see a tag team match, which is Damage Control versus the Pure Fusion Collective. And of course, at ringside would be the women's WWE Tag Team Champions, the Unholy Union. And of course, they would get involved in this particular match, and it would end in disqualification as the women's tag team champions look to make a statement saying that these women teams are not good enough to face them for the titles and take them out. Next, we would see backstage The Miz, very sad, of course, and R-Truth shows up to try to cheer him up. After everything that's been happening to The Miz the last few weeks, it hasn't been good. So R-Truth says, hey man, I got you a match versus the Intercontinental Champion, Bron Breakker. And he goes, really? Yeah, for the Intercontinental Championship, man. And Miz is ecstatic, but come to find out, R-Truth was definitely fibbing and not being completely honest, because as it turns out, R-Truth got Miz a match against Bronson Reed. Not very good. The Miz was not very happy about this, folks. And we would also see Randy Orton come into the little promo and say, hey man, you can do it. He would give Miz a little bit of a prep talk and say, hey man, you go out there and you do it. You're a 2-time Grand Slam champion in the WWE. You can beat this guy. And then R-Truth would look at Randy Orton after the Miz walks away and goes, you really think you can win? And Randy Orton goes, We will also see next up a small interview with none other than Pete Dunne. As we would see, Pete Dunne has been having his issues lately with Sheamus, and now he's looking to make himself a new name in the WWE, as he no longer wants to be called Butch, which is what he was called when he was teaming up with Sheamus. He wants to be called now from Pete Dunne and be forever away from Sheamus, as we also would see later on in the evening during an interview. Pete Dunne would attack Sheamus with the shillelagh once again, hitting him right on the hand after beating him down, possibly breaking his hand. Sheamus, we have to keep up with the injury updates for WWE to see what's happened to Sheamus after this brutal attack by Pete Dunne. We will also see next up our next match of the night, which will be none other than The Miz taking on Bronson Reed. And man, The Miz would give Reed one hell of a match and give him a run for his money. But of course, Bronson Reed would take care of business, taking out The Miz, and we would also see another brutal attack after this match, as not only do we get a couple tsunamis by Bronson Reed on The Miz, but we would also see R-Truth get involved as he tried to help out The Miz. Bronson Reed would also attack R-Truth and hit him with the tsunami multiple times off of the top rope, just really obliterating R-Truth in his chest. Man, we probably have another injury that we're going to find out about next week, but Bronson Reed is on a tear and on a destructive path, which, hey, who's going to stop this guy? I don't know. Then we would see next up on Monday Night Raw, we would see backstage that Sami Zayn would be having an interview or little video promo there before getting ready for his match against Bron Breakker for the Intercontinental Championship, which would be a 2 out of 3 falls matchup. We would see Jey Uso come to try to give some words of encouragement to Sami Zayn to let him know, hey man, you can do this and you can win this matchup and earn back your Intercontinental Championship. And after you do, brother, me and you are going to go after those World Tag Team Championships and be tag team champions once again, brother. So it was really cool to see Jey Uso give Sami Zayn this little pep talk because he definitely needed it. Then we would get into our main event of the evening, which would be none other than Bron Breakker, the Intercontinental Champion, defending his title against the challenger, Sami Zayn, the former champion. And this would be a 2 out of 3 falls matchup in the main event, which would definitely live up to the hype, as we would see both men leave it all in the center of the ring, going toe-to-toe, with Sami Zayn getting the first pinfall after hitting an Alula kick really early in the matchup. But then Bron Breakker would respond, delivering multiple body slams to get the second pinfall of this matchup. And then at the end of this matchup, we would see Sami Zayn jump off the top rope before Bron Breakker would deliver a spear after Sami Zayn jumped off the top rope in the middle of the air and deliver that spear so tough to get his third pinfall of the match and get the victory and retain his Intercontinental Championship. And man, Bron Breakker looks to be a really strong Intercontinental Champion going forward, but what's going to happen to Sami Zayn now that he's lost his rematch? We will have to wait and find out on next week's Monday Night Raw. And thank you guys so much for checking out WWE Show Review on Tim Reynolds Show, as we reviewed the Monday Night Raw from this past week on 8/12/2024, and man, August 12th will definitely be remembered as one of the best Monday Night Raws in a while. But hey, we're only a few weeks out until Bash at Berlin, and I cannot wait to give you guys more sports content, wrestling content, and sports entertainment right here on the Tim Reynolds Show. Thank you guys so much for all the support, for everybody who checks out the videos. If you made it this far to the end, I appreciate you, I respect you, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting the channel and helping me live my dream as a YouTuber, as a sports analyst, and a sports entertainer. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out.